So I'm going to start. I have a confession to make. I consider myself the type of person who tries to do the best I can to make sustainable decisions, but I also really like to travel. And as a researcher, I know that tourism isn't exactly considered a sustainable industry. We have precarious working conditions and large-scale infrastructure projects. But there's a shift occurring. At a policy level, we're seeing that there's a plan for tourism to become more sustainable, to contribute positively to nature conservation and thriving local communities. International and national policies are also calling for participation, and the EU and WTO have many non-binding policies. For example, tourism is mentioned in the SDGs on decent work, responsible consumption, and life below water. But all of the corresponding indicators are linked to GDP and remain economic. We need a greater recognition that tourism is not just an economic activity, but has a place in ecological and social sustainability as well. It has a place in all 17 SDGs. I took my personal interest in travel to a professional investigation of tourism for my dissertation. After years of seeing and hearing about sustainable development and tourism, I asked myself the very simple question, what is blocking tourism from becoming more sustainable? To answer this, I worked in 8 rural regions with practitioners and stakeholder groups in Central and Southeast Europe, and I wanted to know what demands policy was placing on them, how their stakeholders were being involved, and what barriers the stakeholders were facing. I applied action research, which is rare in tourism, and this methodology is practice-led and practice-oriented, meaning that the stakeholders I was working with were my colleagues, not my subjects. Using manuals and masterclasses and guidelines, I accompanied them throughout the whole planning process, from an initial status quo analysis all the way to a strategy development and an implementation plan. I found stakeholders who were very motivated, but unsure what policy goals in tourism actually meant. Themes in national policies didn't reflect their needs, such as our partners from Romania that said they were very interested in digitalization or the sharing economy, but policies that they were working with weren't addressing these. Destinations are given a lot of responsibility by these policies, but no tools to actually implement them. For example, indicators to benchmark the process are very difficult to use sometimes, and to be honest, nothing happens with this data once it's been collected in tourism. So a lot of times these stakeholders are just very frustrated. There are other barriers to participation, such as a lack of awareness on the planning content. What is sustainability in tourism even mean? What are its different aspects? How can it be integrated? For example, a policy might say we want to increase recycling in tourism, and your stakeholders say, that's not my job. That's a job for a national policy. We need a more clear set of accountability and a consensus about what sustainability in tourism really is. We also see a conflict of interest between stakeholders. Usually economic concerns prevail. But cultural landscapes and heritage or gender issues must also feature in sustainability. Everybody needs to be brought to the table. These places are destinations for people like us, but they're homes for the places, for the people that live there, where they live, work, raise families, grow old. They have to be incorporated so that the community remains a place that they can identify with and call home. Action research helped bring everybody to the table. It's process-oriented, meaning that we took planning step by step and discussed concerns and the needs of stakeholders before moving on. We could also integrate what we learned into the next steps. It was a tailored approach, so to speak. It ensured that understanding was raised and sustainable tourism was something to be proactive about locally. And in tourism, stakeholders need to be proactive. And that is because the policy across Europe is very fractured. It doesn't reflect local values or their capabilities or their needs. Policy is developed for people, but not with people. And so it's missing the mark. To support sustainable tourism policy, we must incorporate our stakeholders. The national policy needs to help increase local self-responsibility by increasing such approaches, dividing responsibility, generating greater accountability, provide opportunities to educate and generate greater understanding for sustainability. The trends are indicating a growing interest in unspoiled nature. Also natural conditions, which means that there's a growing interest in rural regions for our tourists. These rural regions are connected to their cultural landscapes, and if we want to use them, we must also protect them. So environmental sustainability will always be a part of tourism. To help participatory planning increase sustainability in tourism, I found that much like a recipe, transferable and adaptable guidelines and manuals were the most useful to improving the process and generate socially sustainable results. People are eager to learn and to contribute, so we have to give them the time and the space to do so. This destination level is very important to sustainable tourism. And sustainable tourism can be achieved by efficiently creating these participatory methodologies and including the use of manuals and guidelines, allowing for feedback loops. SDG 17, partnership on the goals, needs greater recognition in tourism. Incorporating communication strategies or setting focal points to ensure that participants can contribute meaningfully, early, and effective in the planning process are further factors of success when we bridge the gap between policy and local implementation. In rural destinations, ecological and social sustainability are vital for thriving and just communities. If we want tourism to become more sustainable, it can no longer be centered around the tourists, but it has to be centered around the locals and participatory planning approaches.